Thank you and good afternoon again. I have shared my screen, so start the recording. I hope that we're live and you are looking at a picture of New York City, and this is your playground. Today, we're going to be talking about strategies for diverse suppliers engaging in virtual environments, and that is just the appropriate topic of the day. I am so excited, and thank you so much, Christopher, for reading that entire bio. It was so painful for me. But I just want to thank Jackie, Neal, and the rest of the crew at Ohio Minority Supplier Development Council, where I am a part and a team member alongside you. I want to go ahead and get started. You've been waiting long enough for this presentation, and let's start right here. We're talking about strategies, and together we're going to talk about engaging in the environments that we have all been thrust in, and that is the virtual environment. In talking about the strategies for engaging in virtual environments, we're going to look at a three-part strategy today, and each part we're going to take a deep dive. The first part is humanizing your interactions and your prospecting. Yep, that's right. We've been human in our interactions, but today we're going to talk about how we can humanize those interactions in terms of engaging face-to-face using this virtual environment the way we used to do face-to-face in person. And we're going to talk about how we can prospect using this as well. And I'm going to ask someone to turn off their microphone because I can actually hear your papers moving around. And then finally, next, we're going to talk about maintaining virtual business etiquette. That's right, we have etiquette when we engage in business interactions, but we actually have virtual etiquette that I want us to talk about today. Then finally, we're going to ready, set, prepare. We're going to go and prepare ourselves to move forward. So the first part one, humanizing your interactions and your prospecting. So right here, the first thing we're going to do when we're engaging in these virtual environments is we've got to first overcome the impact of physical distancing. We've been called upon to social honor, to exhibit social honoring and social distancing, but that has caused physical distancing as well. So when we're not together, when we're not able to show how we are engaged physically one-on-one, we have to find another way to do that. So we're going to maintain face-to-face interaction. And in order to maintain that face-to-face interaction, we've got to use these tools. Right now, we can still engage in negotiation. We can still provide critical updates to our projects, to our processes. And when we do that, we're still maintaining those relationships that we really struggle so hard to develop and to maintain. And that's right, we know that relationships are the most important things that we can ever do to keep our business going and to keep our business thriving. So engaging in these face-to-face environments and using these virtual tools to, yes, continue to negotiate, provide critical updates to our clients so that they know we're still in business. We're still here. We haven't gone away. In fact, we have changed with the changing times. We also need to continue to develop those relationships. Yeah, so we're going to do our homework, right? We're going to replace the physical networking with the type of what I call virtual physical engagements. So wherever we used to go out and call on our customers and go and meet with them and provide updates, you know, where we had the high level customers that we like to meet with them at least once a month because they were our premier customers, and maybe the next level down, we would meet with them 6 times a year, so every 2 months. Well, in this environment, it has caused us to be separated all the time, 100% of the time from each other. So replacing that and realizing that out of sight could actually mean out of mind, we actually have to stay in touch. And when we're staying in touch, we are anticipating what are the needs, not even just the current needs, the needs of the past, but what are the new needs? What's out of scope now, but that will be coming into scope that we need to think about for our customers. And then we need to reach out to them. Right? And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by using virtual technology platforms, such as the one we're on right now. We're actually meeting with you through Zoom, but there's others. I like to use Microsoft Teams, and I do that a lot, as a matter of fact. There's new ones, like Google has a new one called Google Meet, but they also have Google Hangouts. Then there's GoToMeeting, Skype. There are a number of tools. There's Slack, there's Uber Meet, you name it. It seems like every day a new meeting platform is coming online. And here's the good news that a lot of us don't realize. Some people love to use Zoom, and that's great, but you don't have to only use Zoom. A lot of families like to use Zoom and Google Hangouts to kind of hang out with their family. Businesses also use Zoom, but you can hop over and use Google, GoToMeeting, you can use Teams. It just depends on what your needs are gonna be. And I want you to think about this one thing. You know, being virtually accessible and getting close to one another in the virtual space is kind of vulnerable. I call it, we're practicing social distancing, but we're also practicing and exerting virtual vulnerability. And it's kind of vulnerable. You see how close you can see me? We're like, I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at the camera lens like, that eye of the camera is my best friend. And how would I look at my best friend? And how would I engage with my best friend and partner, or my favorite client, or the client that I so appreciate your business? How might you look at them if you were talking to them face to face? I want you to know that this camera is your gateway. You want to look at that camera when you're talking to them the way you would if you were face to face, engaging in a negotiation, trying to win the business. It's no different. It's just a little camera, but you got to remember one thing, the camera is on. So in order to help us understand about the camera being on and what we should do in front of the camera when we're behind the camera, I found this tool a few weeks ago. And by the way, I've done this presentation for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I've done it for the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. We've done this at the National Association of Educational Procurement, but I've done it in so many different places. Right now, I'm with my friends at Ohio MSDC. This woman, Pastor Sarah, had put a YouTube up, and you can find it on YouTube with Pastor Sarah, and she shared some technologies that there was no reason at all for me to change what this woman did. So in fact, I just brought it to you, minus the references of church. You can certainly identify with it. We're going to go ahead and play this, and it's only about like 4 to 5 minutes long. So I want you to enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side.
Hello, dear ones. Churches all across the country this week are rolling out their church programs on Zoom and moving all their meetings online. And I thought it might be helpful to have a quick introduction to Zoom etiquette. So first of all, when you're seeing your friends from church on Zoom, it's helpful to have you in the center of the frame, not somewhere else, and your entire head included. It's kind of distracting to have a meeting where someone's talking like this, and likewise distracting when you can only see the top of someone's head. So you're going to want to make sure that your entire head is in the frame. This past week will also go down in history as being the week we all found out exactly how much nose hair our pastors have. So maybe don't angle your computer like this. When I'm setting up for a Zoom meeting, I literally just put a stack of books on my desk to raise my laptop up so my head is in the frame. You also don't want to have your Zoom meeting like this. You'll notice my head is a very small percentage of the overall camera frame, so people can't see my expressions. It's hard to feel connected to your friends when they're a tiny little blurred dot. Likewise, it's really weird when people have their Zoom calls extremely close. Some people have a separate camera from their laptop that's set up somewhere else, maybe off to the side of their computer. It's kind of disorienting to have an entire Zoom call with someone who's looking at you, but somehow you're not making eye contact with them. In other words, please look into the camera. If there's a window anywhere behind you, you're going to look real dark and the window is going to be distractingly bright. So if possible, face the window when you're on your Zoom call. This is much better. If you're using your laptop's built-in microphone, you should probably know where that microphone is, so that when you're rustling papers, you don't accidentally brush up against the microphone itself. It will sound so loud to the people listening. Anytime you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. If you're using Zoom, there's a mute button at the bottom left. I don't know which way left is for you. If you don't mute yourself, we will hear your dog barking in the background. We're going to hear your spouse shutting a door somewhere in the house. Just the background ambient noise is so distracting. Muting yourself when you're not speaking is basic Zoom politeness. If you're doing Zoom on your phone, don't walk around the house like this. It's really disorienting and the people watching are going to get motion sickness. Now, whether you're using Zoom or Skype or some other video conferencing software, there will usually be a little panel with your picture in it, a preview of what you look like to others. Keep an eye on that out of the corner of your eye. Don't spend the whole meeting staring at yourself, but look at it now and again so that you can tell whether or not your head is fully in the frame, or if you've drifted into a position where people can't see you and your greasy forehead is the highlight of the entire call. Speaking of grease, you might also want to make sure that your camera lens is not greasy. That's the fastest way to make yourself look like you're the star of a soap opera. Have I mentioned that you should mute yourself when you're not speaking? Remember at all times that people can possibly see and hear you. Don't get up and go to the bathroom and take your laptop or your phone with you. Oh my God, I mentioned you should mute yourself if you're not speaking. You can turn off your video at any time. That doesn't necessarily end the call. That said, an important part of Zoom etiquette is that if you're in a video call and everyone else has their video on and you turn yours off so you can see them but they can't see you, after a while it starts to feel a little bit creepy. It's okay if you're just eating a sandwich, but please don't hold your entire meeting like that. It's a real act of connection and of vulnerability to be able to see each other, to look at each other's faces while we're talking. And I know it's uncomfortable for some of us. We don't like to see ourselves in that little preview box, and maybe we're uncomfortable about the way we look, or maybe we're uncomfortable about the way our house looks. I never thought we'd be having worship in the spare bedroom, but here we are. Those fancy Zoom backgrounds that can put you on another planet or in a beautiful meadow of flowers might seem like an improvement over the inside of your house. But the thing to remember is that your fellow church members, your siblings in faith, want to see you. They want to see you authentically where you are. And if your cat jumps into the frame or your house is a little cluttered, so be it. The point of Zoom etiquette is to help us feel more connected to the people we care about. There is, of course, an adjustment period for all of us as we're moving into this new way of meeting and doing church together. So I wish you all luck and all the technological blessings that you need to have church. Take care.
All right.
Hello, dear.
So I want us to
Dear ones.
also, hold on a second. Yeah, there we are. I want us to also think about something Pastor Sarah said. She talked about the act of showing yourself on a visual or a virtual platform is a true act of connectivity. And that's one of the things that we're experiencing today. Social distancing doesn't mean we need to socially isolate ourselves. And because we're business owners, practicing social distancing, knowing that our places of businesses have had to close, but that's also isolating, and it isolates us from our customers. But it doesn't have to happen that way. We can use this platform to connect and stay connected to our customers. So I'm not only asking us as diverse business owners to connect, I'm asking our customers to also connect. We all need to connect to one another. We need to understand that social isolating doesn't mean that we need to be isolated. And so think about these platforms we've shared. Think about the vulnerability that Pastor Sarah has talked about. It exhibits trust, connectivity, and authenticity, vulnerability for us to connect this way. Here's something about the Zoom platform. It has a lot of free features. You can host up to 100 participants and have unlimited amount of meetings. Also with Teams, my favorite platform, actually with the Teams, you can have an unlimited number of users. As long as the one setting up the meeting has a Teams license or Teams has downloaded Teams and has been authorized to use Teams, everyone else can just jump on the call and it's unlimited. As a matter of fact, what I love about Teams is that you're able to actually collaborate on a document, and you can show documents and both of you just, collaborate on it like we do with Google Docs. There's over 250 integrated apps for Teams. But remember, it's free and it has unlimited capabilities, and the file sharing is amazing. Imagine having a meeting with a customer and or a potential customer, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and you're wanting to prospect with this customer, you can actually pull up your capability statement while you're in a Teams meeting. Use your tool to circle and highlight and point to those areas of interest that you want that customer to think about. You can pull up pictures of your work. You can share your screen and show letters of references or quotes or whatever you want to direct your listener to. These are better times than ever. We can get so much more done virtually than we were ever able to do in face-to-face meetings. So this is not really a disruption in our business day. This actually is a new way of doing business. And I can promise you, now that we have learned how to engage in a virtual world, that it is never going to go back to the way it was at 100%. That part of the way we do business now is going to be virtually. So I want us to be ballers, right? Virtual conference ballers. But before we get to that slide, let's talk about humanizing our prospecting, still in part one of our strategies. And so when you're engaging with businesses, you still want to continue to answer the question, what need can you meet for that customer now? And it's not just the needs that you've always met, but what need can you meet now that we're in this new environment? Or what problem can you solve for that supplier? Maybe they're already an existing customer. You've been solving problems for them all day long. But did the problems change? Most likely. Did their needs change? Most likely. And so you know that if you're engaging in business, you're always answering these two questions. What problem can you solve and what need can you meet? And in order to do that, you need to know which is the best medium, mode, or channel of communication you need to use. Sometimes an email is still going to be a great medium for you because maybe you have to send a lot of information. Well, sometimes it's just going to still take a phone call. You know, just because we have this virtual tool doesn't mean that the phone doesn't work, you know, that phone calls still aren't appropriate. There are still times that's appropriate for the phone call. There's times that's appropriate for a text message. But what we're here to talk about today is those times when we need to be virtual, right? You see, I kind of de-highlighted the in-person because we're actually not engaging in person right now. But don't forget the ability to show your printed documents using these virtual platforms. All right, so when we're engaging virtual, one of the things we want to remember to do is to be real attentive to our digital body language. And these are all about our nonverbal and our verbal skills. Pastor Sarah told us to push a little bit back from the camera, but not too far back, just so that you can show your interaction. You can show, so a lot of us speak with our hands, and a lot of us, you know, can really express ourselves using our hands. And that kind of helps to build trust. And if you're thinking about an answer, you can't see that on a telephone call. But if you're thinking, you don't have to be robotic when you're virtual. You know what? Show that you're thinking. It's okay that you look away or look up or do the gesture that says you're actually thinking. And when we're displaying active listening skills, we're nodding our heads, tilting to the side if something, just, you know, you're not quite sure of what's being said. That's all nonverbal skills, and it's all okay to use. I want you to remember to think about using your chat box more often than you might have. And here's why. In Zoom, in particular, I'm speaking of Zoom because we're in that platform today. The person that says something, shuffles papers, or closes a drawer and the mic is on, the camera is going to zoom in on you. And so if you're in a conversation with maybe like 9, 10 other people and all of you have your camera on, you say, or yeah, I hear, yeah, that's great. I love that idea. The camera's going to go to you and it'll be there for about 5 to 10 seconds and you're not saying anything else. So really be conscious of the platform that you're using, whether you're going to be appearing on camera at times you didn't realize the camera was going to zoom on you. So the chat box is still your friend. Let's stop right there and let's see if we have any questions or comments out there, because I'm not the only one that's the expert at this. Can we take any questions, Jackie?
Hi, yes, I'm looking in the chat box. I heard someone say, I'm not sure, MST is not free, by the way. I'm not sure what that was in relation to.
Microsoft Teams.
Oh,
Microsoft.
Oh,
There were some free platforms at the time I designed this presentation. I'm not sure if they're still out there, but there were free platforms because of the COVID-19.
okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any in the chat room right now. But keep them coming.
All right, great.
Here's a new one's coming in. Hang on.
Okay.
What about FaceTime?
Yeah, FaceTime. Well, FaceTime is using. Are you speaking of using your iPhone FaceTime? Is that what you're talking about? FaceTime using iPhone? Whoever, can someone unmute their mic and tell us more about your question?
You did say iPhone, yes.
Okay, yeah, so it's really depending on whether that is going to be the medium you're going to use when you're engaging in a business conversation. I mean, think about it. You know, we use FaceTime because it's convenient for us and it's something quick and we just want to hold up our phones. But think about when we get further in the presentation, we're going to talk a little bit about foreground versus background. We're going to talk a little bit about positioning, what's behind us, whether or not we're moving. And think about this, if you're engaging in a professional conversation and you're trying to win business or maintain a customer, are you going to want to have your cell phone camera? Now, I actually have this little stand right here because I thought someone might say that. I have this, I don't know if you can see it. It's a little stand that's actually holding my cell phone. And if I was gonna be on FaceTime and I'm actually able to hold my cell phone steady and not just hold it in my hand up to my face and I'm not moving all around, it could still be very professional. So, you know, just deciding what your channel of communication is going to be and what tool you're going to use is really going to depend on whether or not you're prospecting or whether or not you're just touching base, and which one's going to be appropriate.
And the last point is Terry at Beltran Media says FaceTime can be used for live webinars also.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, it can. It can. Good. Thank you. Hi, Dr. Tamika, I see you there. So part 2, we're talking about virtual business etiquette. Remember, they can see you, so don't check your teeth in the camera. And I'm gonna tell you something. I am thinking about this because how many times have we been on very long meetings and we've been using our camera's video feed and we're virtual and, you know, we're really getting comfortable with this now that we're doing so much of it. We tend to forget, you know, we may mute our microphone, but we forget the camera's still going and we just get so comfortable with that. It has happened to me. It's happened to many of other people that I know. So if we're having a call that we're trying to prospect or, you know, we're having a business call, it's a very serious business call, we want to be very mindful that we're still on camera. Now, here I want to talk to you about virtual meetings versus teleconferences. And it's a little bit using those telephones when, you know, I can't be on the call at a meeting, but I'm driving in and I can get in on the meeting. Let's see what happens. This is a 4.5-minute presentation. I'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for being here on time. Paul? Hey, Paul, can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tyler.
Sorry I'm late. Having a hard time connecting.
1 second. Paul's having a sound issue.
I can't hear you. Try adjusting your output settings.
Can you hear me?
It's the gear icon.
Tyler, are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
Yeah, what? Never mind, I got it. I just had to change a few settings.
Great. Maybe we can get started then. Oh, great.
I think your mic is piercing out your speakers. My mic?
Do you have headphones?
You want me to put them on?
No, I want you to smell them. No, I want you to put them on. Hey, Beth.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I had to download a new version of the platform.
You should plan extra time for the updates. There's pretty much one at a time.
Sounds like someone just joined.
Hey guys, it's John. I had to call in. I'm stuck in traffic. Have I missed anything yet?
No, it would have been nice for you to join the rest of us, but we'll see you when you get home. All right, while everyone is here, finally, Tyler, do you have the financial report?
Well, it's been the last few weeks updating our books, and I got some great news for you. Schedule from this point last year. We had a great Q1.
We lost Tyler, I think.
Am I frozen? Hey, Trip, I think we lost Tyler.
Yeah, I know. I know, we lost Tyler.
Hey guys, it sounded like Tyler was cutting out.
We know, John. All right, while we wait on Tyler, why don't we go over all of the reports from Beth, are you with us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everyone, I know some of you have to leave soon, but I just wanted to go over a couple of the curious reports. Okay, excuse me. My wife's out of town this week. Daddy's, so sorry. Okay, you just spilt grape juice on the carpet. Daddy's in a meeting. Tyler, can you go over the numbers one more time, please?
I thought Beth had an adjustment. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that's my iTunes.
Hey guys, hang on. I'm gonna join in. Hey, what platform are you guys on? Skype? FaceTime?
It's in the invite.
Oh, never mind, I see it. It's right there in the invite.
Okay, I can see everybody. Let's reschedule and let's just do a regular conference call, okay? Paul, can you have David send out the 9-digit passcode? I heard you.
He's been here the whole time.
All right, everybody. I'll see you later. Like a lot of video conference calls, this one sucked, but it wouldn't have had.
All right. Let's just dissect that video just for a second. I know many of you can actually identify with a lot of things that happened in that video. And some of the things uppermost that happen is sometimes when you're calling in from the car because you just don't want to miss that call, it can really be noisy and kind of break the communication or impact the meeting, actually. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. We should just be mindful if we mute our microphones, even when we're using our phones, that it's going to be more of a successful meeting. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I love seeing kids and animals while I'm virtually meeting with others. But you need to determine when is it a time that it's going to be okay with those interruptions. And sometimes it's very much okay. But when you're prospecting and you're engaging, trying to get a contract or negotiate a contract, you might want to minimize some of those interruptions. But think about the person who was sitting in the meeting the whole time, but never acknowledged. You want to be sure to acknowledge when you're coming into meetings where persons can't see you, acknowledge your presence there. Sometimes we're calling in on a guest line and it doesn't say our name. So these are some of the virtual business etiquettes that we need to be very sure and clear about. And that one person, that woman Beth was actually multitasking while she was dialing in using her phone. So she was actually texting and sending messages. And sometimes we don't really realize that we can hear that on the call. I've had people actually put us on hold and we can hear their company's hold music or hold message while we're on a call. So these are some of the things we're going to want to be really careful not to do. So speaking about virtual business etiquette, we're talking about maintaining our professionalism in this virtual environment. And that means our appearance and our physical presence needs to be intact. You know, I read an article, I want to say at least a year or two ago, and I remember when I was working from home as a business owner. And one of the things that the article told me is that when you get up in the morning, try your best to get up and dress for work. I mean, you don't have to have a full suit and all that on and tie and shoes and all that, but dress appropriately for a business engagement. And then you're going to be prepared for anything throughout the day. A lot of times people aren't sharing their screen or sharing their camera because it's like, oh, you know, I got COVID-19 hair, I got a COVID-19 beard, or, oh, you know, I didn't bother to get dressed, I'm still in my jammies, I'm not going to share my camera. But everyone else is sharing their camera. These are some of the etiquette things that we need to be mindful about. So however you like to come to work, if you know you're not going to engage in virtual engagements that day, go ahead, stay in your pajamas. But for a lot of us, we're finding, especially through that article, that we are more feeling like we're actually, at our place of business, when we're working, and sometimes working from home is our place of business. And those of us that have done that have already perfected that. But for many of us, this is a new way of doing business. So your appearance and your physical presence is very important. So you want to make sure that your attire is also intact. So when I say no jeans, like this gentleman, he didn't actually wear jeans. He didn't actually wear bottoms at all. But if you're going to do that, don't stand up while the camera's still rolling, right? And I have seen people do that, stand up and forget that they were not dressed appropriately from the waist down. So I'm talking about waist up proper attire when you're going to stay seated. So no jeans up top. Be careful with the busy jewelry. It's okay to have fun jewelry. I like jewelry. We need to be very careful that we're not, clanging around and having real distracting attire, like shirts with really distracting language on it. We want to be really mindful that we need to be appropriate for any audience and just about ready for anything. Now I want to talk a little bit more about that background noise. We talked a little bit about dogs barking and those beautiful kids coming in the frame, which I love to see. That's also considered noise, right? But so is your foreground versus your background. Looking at what can I see behind you in the camera's view? Is it going to be distracting? Because when I look at you, I'm sure when you came up, the first thing you saw when I came on camera is you saw some beautiful red flowers back there and you're thinking, whoa, look at that picture. What is that? And because you really came to see me, but what you actually saw was whatever was in the camera view. And I guarantee you, everyone's looking at what's in the camera view. This is also considered noise to your conversation. Your internet connection can be noise, not noisy because you can hear it. It's noisy because it can drop. You can lose your internet connection. It can break in and out, as you saw in that one video where the gentleman was sharing a very important update about the project, but his internet was going in and out. That's considered noise. Your lighting. I have a light from the top down. I have a light to my left. I have a big window to my right. We want to be careful having a window behind us, but lighting is really important. Trying to make sure that your doorbell or your home phone, we have our cell phones, but sometimes we also have landlines at home, making sure those aren't going to be disruptive. I would take my phone off the hook. I unplugged the doorbell right before it was time for our presentation today to make sure that didn't ring. So anything that we can do to make sure we are mindful of the noise. Talking about noise, here's a great time for us to talk about the communication channel and which channel to use. So here, let me give you a really short synopsis. I teach this in my advanced professional practices at Kent State. This is one of the slides, or it's not actually this slide, I use other slides. I pulled something different to share with you, but I teach this concept rather to our advanced students about professional skills. And one of the things that we talk about is the communication channel from sender to receiver. When we send a message, when I am sending a message to you now, and I'm actually encoding this message. So I've thought long about it, I've chosen my words, I've chosen the format, I'm encoding a message and I'm sending it over to you. You are hearing that message, you're decoding what I've said, you're interpreting what I'm saying, you're applying it where it applies to you. And you're seeing it, whether I'm displaying it virtually or displaying it on your screen or you're hearing it on the phone, you're receiving that message and you've decoded it for understanding. You're determining whether or not you have to reply to me and give me feedback. Right now, you're saying there's no feedback needed. But when Jackie came on and read the questions to me, she provided a feedback back to me. And that is the communication channel. Jackie then became the encoder, and I was the decoder as I was trying to decipher what she was saying to me. And this is the communication channel that we're all engaged in one form or another. And what happens in the middle of that message being relayed, transferred from me to you, is called noise. What happens in the middle, right? Through the communication channel, whether it's a text message, an email, a chat, a video conference, a phone call, that channel that we're using, the noise that could happen could be a dropped phone call, a dropped line, internet connection. Maybe the email never went through because the email was, broken down. Or have you ever sent an email and never arrived? That's happened to me. Or the phone call, how many times have we been on our cell phone? And a lot of us conduct business on cell phones now. But the phone call just drops, right? And just out of nowhere, it's just like I lost a signal, a posting. Anything could happen in us delivering that message or communicating that message. And anything that can happen in that is called noise. So we have to minimize the noise in our communication, whether we're virtually, we're using an email, or we're on a phone call. So there is the communication channel. In brief, it's so much more to that, but there's types of noises that I've mentioned earlier. That's your internet connection, right? It's buffering or a dropped call. There are also what we call linguistic barriers. And that's where you have a language accent, right? Or the use of slang in your communication. So some of us carry, like if I'm speaking to some of my friends from other countries, and I do have wonderful friends from other countries, I have an accent, and it can be a barrier for them trying to understand what I'm saying. There's environmental noise, and that's going to be what's around you, whether it's a construction site or it's whatever is on your table, right? Whatever is around you that's environmental, that's causing noise, and maybe the lighting's bad, that can be a form of noise, or it's just too much activity going on behind me while I'm on the call with you. And what about some of us like to use, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a person in the wheelchair, by the way, it's just an eye contest to mention physical. Some of us use standing desks, and that's fine because it helps us stay in shape and all that. But when you're on a standing desk, you're moving, you're switching, you're shifting on your knees, you're standing back and forth. And I've actually seen people actually walk away while we were in a meeting from a standing desk. It causes excessive moving. So be mindful of that. You want to reduce the noise in that conversation as much as possible. And the last one I'll mention here is paralinguistic noise. And that's the tone and pitch and rhythm and the nuances of our speech. Some of us speak very fast. Some of us are pretty clear, but there are people that take time to process before they talk. That can be a type of noise, because remember, all we have is this these virtual engagements. We're not sitting face to face sometimes, where we can see that people are processing before they speak. So if you're on the telephone, you're not going to see that someone's processing a thought. So you got to be mindful of your medium so that you'll know when your interactions is causing a disruption. Here's one of my favorite people to watch on MSNBC, Joy Reid. Joy Reid is the epitome of paying attention and being actively present during the meeting. So we definitely want to mute our mic if we're not talking, right? And please, for etiquette, don't take calls during the meeting or handle your cell phone. Some people like to take notes on their cell phone when they're in the meeting, but honestly, perception is 100%. And if people perceive that you're just using your phone or texting, then that's what it is, because perception is 100%, and it's 100% true to me. I believe that you're just texting while we're talking when actually you were taking notes. So if you're taking notes, good old paper and pen always works. You want to look forward at all times, even when you're not speaking. You want to have a forward-facing appearance. And you see in the upper right, that Brady Bunch type of setup. Maybe you're on a call with 9 other people, and it was one of those days that you didn't really want to get dressed that day. So you thought, I'm just going to show up to work. I'm just not going to show my camera today. You had a call. And it was a group call. And it had to be a call where everyone was sharing their cameras and they were trying to collaborate on a project. That's going to be one you want to be prepared for anything. So you wouldn't be able to be prepared to be in that meeting that day. And it's kind of weird when other people have their cameras on and you don't. And so here, the guy that's at the coffee shop, he didn't know he was going to get that call. And it was the call he was waiting for. But he's not in a place where he can actually engage virtually to take that business call. So much noise going on, not just noise from the coffee shop, noise from someone asking him, can I get you anything else? Or people walking behind them, causing a disruption. So you want to be at a place where you can be as professional as you need to be at the time. If you're just engaging friends or engaging one-on-one, then it would be appropriate. In the lower left, this gentleman is being interviewed right now, and he has made sure that his foreground and background is perfect, and he's able to engage in that call. So here we are, just before the last part. Can we take any questions right now? And I'm looking for Jackie. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions right now. So we're gonna go ahead to part 3, and that part is ready, set, prepare. So the best way to communicate that you are nimble, agile, and flexible is to come prepared to this opportunity for anything. You want to come prepared for anything. This is an advertisement. When I designed this presentation, I want to say 4 weeks ago now, one of the first things when we were shut down and working from home and socially distant, I saw was this ad. I don't know this company, but I know I saw the ad. I believe it's a woman-owned company, and they sent it to me in my email, and it says, "We're still open." We're still open. It was in a constant contact message. And, you know, I thought, you know what, this is just perfect. Thank you for letting me know that you're still open. Thank you for not allowing me to just assume that you're no longer doing business until these times are passing us. It's important that we stay engaged and communicate with others to let them know that we're still here and we're still open for business. So when we're talking about ready, set, prepare, remember, know your customer. What do they purchase, right? How are they impacted by this new COVID-19 environment, and how will they be impacted in the near future? A lot of times we have to think about what our customers might need, or even if we're prospecting, what are some ways that this new environment has presented itself that we can spend on a dime and change our business trajectory or change our strategies to adjust? When the times are changing, we have to change with the times, because if we don't change with the times, we're going to be left in the past. So thinking about your customers and who their current suppliers are, how can you be supportive, and how can you be helpful to your customers and to their bottom line? You know, what challenges are they facing now and in the future? How can you add value? I want to give you an example. We have a company, a minority-owned company, Cliffwood, who owns Prairie Wind Group. It's a solar company. Cliff was taking part in one of the development programs that we have at Kent State for minority contractors. And Cliff had an idea. He said, you know, Veronica, I think I could save Kent State University $1 million using solar. I'm like, $1 million? Are you kidding? Yeah. I said, you know what? We have mentors in this program. Let's get your mentor together and let's sit down and talk to them. As a matter of fact, let's talk to all the mentors that are in the program that's helping me with these 25 companies. We sat down, and to make a very long story short, we sat down with those 4 mentors, and we were able to, one, hire Prairie Wind Group to do a feasibility study for our 8 campuses. And that whole idea about solar on our campuses actually was submitted and accepted by the Board of Trustees in December 2019, and it is saving the university $6.3 million over the next 20 years. And it's all because this company thought about our challenges, knew the industry, knew their own industry, knew a lot of different nuances about the industry and how they can put that formula together to save us money, and it didn't cost us one dime to do it, right? So these are the type of ideas, and as minority business owners, we're nimble, right? But we're creative, we're innovative. We got to continue to bring those ideas and move them forward. This is the environment that we have to be really forward thinking. Go ahead out there, take your idea and show how you can make an impact, how you can add value. And don't forget to show your competitive advantage, because it's all about the bottom line, and everybody wants to hear about how you're impacting their bottom line. So to help you check in with those customers that you have, I've created this one site, and it's called Use Virtual Meetings to Check In. And here's something that you should do. Checking in with your existing customers. What should I start doing for you now that we're in this new environment? We weren't doing this before, but what are some of the things you need me to start doing? And as a matter of fact, now that some things have changed and your customer base has changed and the way we do business has changed, what are some things you need me to stop doing, right? How can I stop doing these things? I want to still be the best solution for your company. And what should we continue doing? We've been doing this before. It's been awesome. It worked for you. And the new environment hasn't changed a thing. Please keep doing this. What are some of those things? And finally, you've heard me say this a lot in this call, talking about what's in scope and out of scope. What's coming upstream that we should prepare for, that I can help prepare you for? It's out of scope now, but it's going to be in scope soon. What are some of those things that I can prepare with you? This is showing your ability to partner with these organizations to find out what's going to be important for them. What are some ways that you can partner with them and help them along while still showing your competitive advantage and you're staying engaged with them? And you know, one of the things that we do, and I know at OMSDC we're really good at, when we have our annual meetings and we go out and we golf and we spend time with one another and we have those parties at the end, it's all because we need to network and engage with one another. And just because we're in this environment where we're socially distant, right? We don't need to stop hanging out. I want to encourage you to hang out, right? Have a virtual happy hour. I've heard others talk about virtual happy hours. I thought I invented it. I didn't. But so we can still engage. Enjoy coffee and chat, right? You know, just really enjoy. Get something with an umbrella in it. Grab a coffee. Sit down and catch up with one another. It's okay to still do that. As a matter of fact, talk about your new bucket list. Talk about, you know, how things are changing. Share ideas, not just with prospects, not just with companies that you know and you still want to keep networking with them. That's a great idea. But how about your peers? How about B2B? How about others engaged in OMSDC? Just engage. We have to stay connected socially. We have to stay connected professionally. We have to stay connected, period. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. So I want to talk to you about, as we wind the program, this presentation down, is becoming, I promised you earlier, a virtual conference baller, right? So the top 6 rules for your virtual presence: being aware of your video settings, and we'll go over this one more time. The lighting in your room, your wall art, mute your mic, introduce yourself when you're coming in group meetings. If it's no camera, if you're on the phone, before you speak, make sure you say, and this is Tamika, and here's my contribution, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing that, and you want to look in the camera's eye, because the camera's eye is your friend. So again, 3rd time I'm saying it, mute that mic, right? Because whenever you're not speaking, it needs to be off, even if you're alone. Background noise can be so disruptive, but it also allows you the privacy, right? If your mic is muted, your camera's still on, it allows you the privacy that you need, right? So you want to definitely do that. Totally be aware of your video settings. You know, don't forget that video is on. I have done that and totally forgot it was on, and it's happened to me, but luckily people gave me some grace on the other line, on the other side of that camera. Video angles can be very distracting, as Pastor Sarah talked about. So you want to be careful that your video is not showing upwardly up towards the, you know, your face, so they're actually looking in your nose, and you don't want to be looking down like this at your video camera. So put some books under your where your camera is, if you can. If you're on a laptop, make sure that you're in the center of that frame, and make sure it's not too high or too low. And remember, they can see absolutely everything. Talking about lighting again, overhead lights are great. Side lights really give you that beautiful lit room and allows you to illuminate yourself. But brightening to brighten up yourself, I chose to wear this today because I wanted to give you an example. I would, if without this necklace, I would just have this very, you know, this nice black sweater, and you wouldn't be able to see that my face was illuminated. Putting just this necklace on is actually lighting my face, and the light in the room is actually illuminating me. So dressing in appropriate attire, being ready for anything. If you're wearing a light colored pastel colored shirt, those are really great. Choose lighter ones. But if you have to wear something dark, make sure you have something that can lighten you up. And remember about that waist up professional attire. Want to be sure to pay attention to what's around you, your wall art. Does the camera show too many things? If you're, you know, happen to, you know, one of the good things about working from home or working in a different environment is that you get to move around. Wait till it gets really warm outside and I move my desk outside if I'm still working from home. But you want to be careful what's around you, right? So choose a room and a space that you wouldn't mind others seeing. If you're at your kitchen table, make sure it doesn't show some of the dishes you didn't get a chance to put in the dishwasher yet, or even if you did, if you want to show it, show it. But if it's something that is going to be distracting, you want to make sure that you just move some non-essentials out of the way of the camera. Here's your one-on-one group video checklist. So I gave you a checklist. You know, we all like lists. I do. I like to check things off. Make sure if you're going to be in a group call without a video, right? Introduce yourself. Make sure you turn your mics off. look into the camera, make contact. You want to smile. Smiling, we just don't see enough smiles. I miss you. I miss engaging with you. I miss seeing you, you know, face to face. So we have to let that camera be our gateway to other people. Make sure you're not talking over others. You know, it's really disruptive in a virtual environment, so much more than when you're in a face-to-face environment, when you're talking and others are talking to. And remember that the chat box is actually your friend. There are so many other tools. I know that caller said earlier that Microsoft Teams costs. There was a free platform for Teams, and if I can find it, I'll send it to Jackie to see if it's still free. But since we got into this environment, they were advertising free Teams, and a lot of other platforms were free. Free business incentives for memberships, a lot of free online resources, especially now while we're in the midst of this virus, and also stay in touch with existing connections using MailChimp or Constant Contact. They both have free versions, ways to keep up with people. It's a really good idea. Now is our formal question and answer section. So I'll stop here to see if there are questions, answers, and comments. I am not the only person that's an expert in this. I'm actually not even an expert. I just play one on TV. So please chime in and share what you know so that we can all benefit. Go ahead, Jackie.
Thanks. Hi, thank you so much for that, Veronica. We actually only have 4 minutes left in the session. So let me just read real quickly. Someone mentioned, Sean asked, how are other MBEs identifying new business opportunities? A lot of new business comes from familiarity. And then Edgar asked if you could go back to the Know Your Customer slide. So if you could answer the question and go back to the slide, that would be great.
Okay. Tell me when I'm there. This one? No. Come online, Edgar, and tell me which. This one. Is this the one? So I know we probably have 3 minutes left. People are finding opportunities by, you know, especially for persons that have been looking for new customers because of COVID-19, looking for supports and help. And a lot of it's been, what I've been hearing is people have been anticipating the needs of others and then reaching out to them. There's so many companies that have been impacted because their current suppliers are no longer in business. So just anticipating, you know, if there has been a company that uses certain suppliers and their suppliers aren't working, then that means they have a need, because those that are in their supply chain are no longer supplying them. They've been anticipating who might need my services now. So they've just been going out and just trying to guesstimate, well, if my peers, if those that I'm competing with are no longer in business, then who their customers might have been, you know, may be good prospects for me. And just really trying to anticipate the needs in the environment, what some of the needs might be. Just being creative, maybe customers that you've always wanted to go after, you don't know, maybe their supplier is no longer working and you can be that customer or that supplier for them.
Veronica, I see another question. Can you recommend a virtual job fair? That's from Errol Burks, a virtual job fair platform.
No, but I will tell you, I was actually engaging in designing virtual matchmaker for a program that we're doing at Kent. So we're working on a virtual matchmaker. I don't know of a virtual job fair, but I'll share it with OMSDC if I should find one. But whatever, you know, one of the things that we know is necessity is the motherhood of invention. And so if you haven't seen a virtual job fair, then maybe some of us need to get together and create one. I haven't seen one yet, but if I do find one, I'll share.
We're happy to share. We've explored a lot of virtual platforms. We're happy to share that information, so feel free to reach out. Well, thank you so much, Veronica. Really appreciate this session. Getting some really good feedback on here. So thank you for taking the time. I thank everybody for attending. I hope this was helpful. Veronica, you shared your contact information, which was great. But feel free to reach out to the council if you have any other questions. But thank you so much, everybody. And look out for our next webinar. We'll be advertising that soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.